Bhagavad Gita, 7 habits. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we could talk today. And
yeah.
All right, so let's get started. Good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Daily. We will get started with our opening prayers. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Okay. All right. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to today's session. Let's get started. So today we will conclude our recap for chapter 1 and pick up the last shloka of chapter 1. Like yesterday, I'm going to discuss the shlokas leading up to the shloka, and then we will start discussing a little bit of the context around it and some of the stuff that we have planned for today's discussion. So I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow along like we always do. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishat Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. All right, do we have any volunteers?
Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhe Radhopastha Upavishat Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha.
Very nice. Thank you, Samji. Radhe Radhe. All right, we have
Radhe Radhe. Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktvarjunah Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishata Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Sanvigna Manasaha.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. All right, I can see a few more hands. Let's take them and then we will get started.
Radhe Radhe. Ashutosh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Ashutosh.
Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktvarjunah Sankhe Rathopastha Upavisat Visrijya Sasaram Chapam Soka Sangvigna Manasaha.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashutosh. This is where the quandary or the despondency that Arjuna is facing has reached its peak. And that's where we are going to cover today. We have been doing the recap for chapter 1 and I picked up the shloka. We'll also go through the shlokas leading up to this state that Arjuna is in, right? We have been discussing last few sessions. All right, let's take the remaining hands real quick and then we'll get started.
Radhe Radhe. Venkatji.
Radhe Radhe Venkatji.
I think you are not audible.
Okay, if you may want to work on your audio in the meantime, let's move on.
Radhe Radhe. Sumesh ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Sumesh ji.
Jaya Uvacha Eva Muktvarjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishat विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः।
Very nice. Radhe Radhe Someshi. All right, let's move on.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
संजय उवाच एवमुक्त्वार्जुन संखे रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य ससरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः। राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe. All right, we have next.
Radhe Radhe Shruti ji.
Radhe Radhe Ramji, Radhe Radhe Nitin. Sanjay Uvacha Evamukta Arjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavashat Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shok Samvigna Manasaha.
Very nice, Shruti. Radhe Radhe. Wonderful. All right, we can take the last few hands that we have real quick.
Radhe Radhe Uday ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Sanjay Uvacha Evam Ukvarjuna Sankhe Ratopastha Upavishat Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, very nice, Uday. All right, we are down to our last three hands. We can really take it.
Radhe Radhe Bhajan expert Payal ji.
Radhe Radhe Palji.
Radhe Radhe. Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktva Arjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishata Visrajya Sancharam Chapam Shok Samvigna Manasaha.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Okay, down to our last two.
Radhe Radhe Pragi.
Radhe Radhe Pragi ji.
Radhe Radhe. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Muktav Arjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishat Visrijye Sasharam Chapam Shoka Savigna Manasa.
Wonderful. Thank you. Last but not the least, Padma ji.
Radhe Radhe Padma ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Sanjaya Uvacha Evam Utvarjuna Sankhe Rathopastha Upavishat Visrija Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha.
Very nice, Padma ji. Thank you. All right, so let's get started. In this shloka, the opening one we did, Dhritarashtra had opened that, and this chapter ends with Sanjay. So Sanjay says, speaking thus, Arjun cast aside his bow and arrows and sank into the seat of his chariot, his mind in distress and overwhelmed with grief. All right, so it has reached the crescendo now, as we are discussing. So let's look at quickly the shlokas leading up to this. 1.34 and 3.5 in this, like we discussed yesterday, as soon as he saw his teachers, fathers, sons, all the bodily relatives, right? His knees, his legs started shaking, his gandiv started slipping out of his hand, his mouth became dry, his skin started burning. Now he's saying, oh Madhusudan, he's again calling him Madhusudan, I do not wish to slay them, even if they attack me. Now look at his state of mind. He's saying, even if they attack, I'm not going to slay them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, what satisfaction will we derive from the dominion over the three worlds, that to speak of this earth? So he said, if I'm going to take the blood of my relatives on my hand, what's the point, even if I get the three worlds? Okay, forget about earth. That's what Arjuna is feeling. Further on, he goes on to say, give some logical arguments around it as well. Okay, his choice of word is pretty interesting. So he says, when a dynasty is destroyed, traditions get vanquished, rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion, and with the preponderance of vice, the women of family become immoral, and from them immorality, O descendant of Vrishni, unwanted progeny are born. So he's not reminding, but calling him Vrishni, because the clan that Lord Krishna belonged to is called Vrishni, Yaduvansh. So he's saying that once the Vansh if it gets tainted, it has wider ramifications or a ripple effect down the line. Furthermore, he goes on to say an increase in unwanted children results in hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family. And because they will not have the required, spiritual upbringing, they will lose the tradition, offerings, sacrificial offerings and all that stuff. And the families will get corrupted. Evil deeds will prevail. The family tradition will get destroyed. Further unwanted progeny will come out. Social and the whole system will get disrupted. And he now is calling him Janardhan. Janardhan means one who looks after the people. So he's used the word Janardhan in this case for Krishna, that, if you look at the larger good of people, it's not going to be good for them. He's using the word Janardhan for him. And then furthermore, he goes on to say, I've heard from learned that those who destroy family traditions, they dwell in hell for an indefinite period of time. So he's saying, I'm making a business case for myself to go to hell. And then he says that how strange is that we have set our mind to perform this great sin. Now he's like there in that particular moment is saying that we are going to perform this great sin. So in his mind, he's saying it is a great sin with horrifying consequences. And driven by the desire for kingly pleasures, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. And he's saying it would be better that with weapons in hand, these people come and kill me. And I won't want to even resist. So that is the state of Arjuna now. Okay. So yesterday his Gandhi was slipping, and today he has pretty much summed up what he's feeling. Yes, Samji, you had a question already? You have a lot of sunlight falling on you today. Go ahead.
Yeah, Maharaj is shining me.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you have a question?
So the question is, what is meant by a hellish life for both for the family and for those who destroy the family?
Yeah, typically if you get one saint in your family, the 7 PDs, they get the benefit of it, right? Hiranyakashyap, Prahlad, one devotee, one saint came in your family, the 7 entire lineage gets the benefit of it. But it is perfectly orchestrated by God. It's not like a saint would get born in a family not with enough pious merit around it. So yes, it is said that if it's a chain basically that suffers when it happens. Now to your other question, don't ask me, right? Okay, that's an SMX question, the Bhogyoni of Datya and Boon and all that stuff. So, but yes, the entire lineage suffers the consequences. That is what our scriptures say. So that is why it's importantly to do our prescribed duties, preserve our traditions, and do at least the vidhi nisheds that are outlined in our scriptures, so that we are not falling down. We are at least not adding any further binding karma or sins, to say the least. All right, so this is what is leading him up to this. Now let's have a little bit of a different discussion. We'll tie it all together. How well do you know yourself? Okay, now Arjuna is also going through a bit of a quandary here. So there's it's a tool basically that it's called a Johari window. If anybody is a human resource, they would understand this. So there are 2 dimensions to it, something which is known to others and which is known to you. Okay. And the other 2 dimensions are which are unknown to others and unknown to you as well. So the window, which is very clear, is known to others, known to me. We know, right? When we come across people, we say, this person is like so-and-so, congenial personality, or, generally upset personality, or people know it, you also know it. You know your temperament, how you predominantly act, and people also know that. So it's not a secret for you or for the entire world. Some people say I'm a foodie. People also know they're a foodie, right? Those kind of things. It's a pretty simple one. Now the things get interesting, a little bit interesting. The second one is unknown to me and known to others. It's got a blind spot, right? People don't know they have mannerisms. Everybody has it. And they're not aware of it as much. And as people pick it up, they know, this person does like this. Right? We had a cricket captain who, after every sentence, he would go say, I know. I have a tendency to say, right, somebody says. So all those things are there. Plus other personality tics are there as well, where you think of yourself a certain way, and the way you are perceived by the world is another way. There's a gap there. And that zone is called a blind zone, where you are completely oblivious to certain traits about your personality, how they are perceived by others, but you are not aware of it. It's kind of a zone that the lesser of that zone we have, the better off we are. Okay, we are more in touch with our own reality. That is why Maharaj Ji says, अच्छा कहलवाने की जगह अच्छा बनने की कोशिश करो. So rather than being called good, work on becoming good. So when we do that, then this gap gets bridged to a good extent. Okay, that is one of the things. Now let's thicken the plot. This zone is interesting. It's known to you and unknown to others. We all know that. We all have our secrets, and that is something only you know. People will say, you know this, you know that, or they might think of you in a certain way, but you know your fact, your reality, that where you stand or what are your shortcomings and stuff like that. So this is something which is your secret only. And some people continue to have that secret for the rest of their lives. Some people, eventually it moves to the first quadrant that we spoke about, known to others and known to yourself as well, in due course of time. The fourth one is the most interesting one, which is neither you know it nor somebody else knows it about you. This is an interesting one. Now this comes to the fore when some extreme situations happen in life. Right? For example, a mother might be very timid, but when it is needed, she may be willing to jump into a well or fight a tiger to save her child. So certain personality traits which are there in our subconscious, they shine forth or they come to the fore in extreme situations, extreme adverse situations, that even you can surprise yourself and you can surprise people also by doing that. Some people, they get into the second wind. I've seen playing in sports also, it happens to people. They said, okay, I don't know how I was doing. It was called second wind. They reach that stage. So that is a subconscious state which gets triggered in some extreme situation. It could be extreme adverse situation, could be extreme ecstatic situation. People can go mad also, right? So those kind of things can happen. Now, if we look at what's happening right now, if you were to look at the zone part, right? These three zones typically come to the fore when life applies a squeeze on us. Squeeze. We squeeze juice out of lime. When life applies a squeeze, that's when we come in touch with these zones of ours. Now, life is applying a squeeze on Arjuna also. Right? So in these kind of situations, either it can break somebody. He has all the options to run away from the war, or just justify himself what he's doing and take some other decision, maybe take a sannyas or something like that, because he has tattva gyan. As you would see, he will go on and start talking philosophy as well. And then, or you rely on a higher authority like Krishna. He had the benefit of that. So his mindfulness or his self-awareness is pretty high in that sense. Right? And this is something that he's realizing. He didn't expect that from. If that was the case, he wouldn't even have taken the battlefield. So this is the fourth zone, neither known to himself nor to others, which came to the fore because God turned the key in Arjuna for the benefit of all of us. So that is coming to the fore when he's looking at all the relatives, bodily associates, and now his attachment has gotten triggered. How can I kill them? How can I take their blood on my hand? How can I enjoy the kingdom after that? And how can I be a party to something which is going to destroy the tradition, lineage, family, the social order, and pretty much everything? All those things have started coming to him, right? So it's an interesting, this can be applied to your day-to-day life as well. It's a very important tool even in corporates, to have a good awareness about your own self and about your team as well. And this can be applied for your self-growth as well, to see if there is a gap in any of the zones other than the open self part of it, right? And when it comes to the integrity part of it, you try to lessen the gap in all of that. And when you gain more and more awareness about yourself, you start tapping into the subconscious as well. So anyways, this is kind of an interesting, and it's called a Johari window. Now let's move on. When I said these three quadrants come into picture when life applies a squeeze. And when life applies a squeeze, let's look at that. So if you squeeze a lemon, what will come out of it? Lemon juice. And if you squeeze grapes, what will come out of it? Grape juice. And if somebody squeezes us, what will come out of it? We really have to think about it. You know, what will come out? What will come out is what we have within us. If we have a lot of negativity, bitterness, you know, we have tapped into those things will come out. So when your buttons are pressed, or when going starts getting tough, that is the squeeze life is applying on us. And see, what you do when you are not doing satsang basically determines what will come out of you when life applies squeeze. So the mundane life that we lead when we are not doing satsang, sadhana or seva, that is what will determine what will come out of us when we are squeezed. So that's where we really need to think about it. Those adversities, right? Yesterday we were talking about this concept. Adversity can bring out your best, or it can bring out your worst. Okay. So we have to move from that worst towards our best, even in the scenarios of hardships, or when going gets tough, or when we start encountering unfavorable situations and circumstances. It could be job related, it could be personal life related, it could be interaction related, relationship related. When life gives you lemons, do you make a lemonade? Or, you know, that is something that is very important to understand, what is coming out of us in those moments, because that truly defines our progress, not when going is smooth. So if you were to tie the ends on this one, let's move on. That is where, so you look at this picture, it talks a lot basically. Right? This guy is in a jail and what he's trying to do. So in order to face the squeeze properly, Swamiji gives a formula, right? The success formula: be good. That means to become the best version of that we possibly can. Do good. To do the best we can in the works we undertake, in everything that we undertake. And as a consequence of that, you will feel good. Everybody's striving for that only. Now, if you look at it, the first two things, the third thing is something that you can obtain or reach. How do you be good, or how you do good? You cannot do that without proper understanding. Right? Everybody is good. Is there anybody who says I'm bad? Everybody walks with that certificate, certified good. It's a problem with the rest of the world. So the principles which will tell you even to become good. Right? The good, actually, definition of good is much deeper. It's not just the good as we see in the world, right? The genuine, if you really go to the deeper definition of good, is aligning your will to God and doing things for the pleasure of God. But even to become materially good, where we are actually being cooperative, helping others, doing charity, not thinking bad about anybody, not getting upset, angry, envious, jealous, even for those noble virtues, we still have to take refuge of Bhagavad Gita and Guru. We cannot crack this code all on our own because our mind is dirty. So in order to become good and doing things good, we have to take refuge in the word of God and Guru. There is no other way. If somebody has a plan B or plan C in life, then it is just about your mind is playing tricks with you. There's no plan B or plan C, to be honest, in life. There's only plan A. Plan A is, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We turn our direction and start aligning to spiritual principles, so that when the squeeze is applied to us, something good comes out of it. And we are evolving and not devolving in our life. And as a consequence of becoming good and doing, we will anyway feel good. And every endeavor of our life is to feel good, because we are seeking happiness, being an integral part of the small part of God. So in order for us to feel good, we need to do good, be good, and what it takes to become good or do good is something Bhagavad Gita is to go to place for that, manual or scriptures, I would say. Okay. Otherwise, we will continue to seek out things like this guy is doing. We are in a jail. There's a bigger problem that needs to be handled, but he's happy going for the cookie and relishing that. And that is what our endeavors in our lives are as well. We are not trying to think through the bigger problem in life, but trying to tackle the smaller pleasures or smaller gains that can potentially have. Yes, Shruti, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, so you said that it's like life is applying a squeeze. Like, let's say if someone is trying to intentionally, create problems. So for how long can you actually, have patience? Like if someone is having a bad day, right? So you understand that it's just for a day, so you try to have patience. But if they're trying to do it intentionally on purpose every day, and you have to, you're surrounded with them like most of the time, then how do you avoid it? Like, how do you keep patience with that?
I don't know. I mean, it's so if you can't cure it, endure it. There are only three options in every situation we have. Either quit the system, quit that relationship, or change the system. If you can change something, go ahead and change it, or learn to live with it. But if you are going to harbor resentment, bitterness, anger within yourself, it's not going to help anybody. In fact, it is said all the diseases, if somebody harbors a lot of resentment and bitterness, it is correlated with arthritis as well. And people who generally have that, they harbor a lot of
psychosomatic,
right?
Psychosomatic diseases.
So cure, if you can't cure it, endure it. There might be a reason. They might be teaching you a lesson that you need, or maybe they might be giving your own baggage to you that you might have dished out to them previously. We don't know. So we really have to look at it in perspective, right? Tukaram, Saint Tukaram story is there. His wife used to be a lady who would give him a lot of troubles, okay, every day. And one day he went out and he said, are you going to do this bhajan kirtan only or get some food as well for us? So he went out and he sold stuff, and he was getting sugarcane and other stuff back from the market. And because of his generous nature, he started distributing it on the way. When he started meeting people, he started distributing until he realized he has only one sugarcane left. So he came back to home, and when his wife saw that, her blood boiled over. It was like, okay, what kind of a person are you? I sent you to get some food, and that too you distributed. And then she took that sugarcane and hit him. She hit him so hard that it broke into two. And Tukaram says, good, now, now we don't have to break it. We can share it now, since it is in two pieces. Anyway, he was a saint. But with us also, we really have to start looking at it in perspective. Can we do something about it? If it is within our circle of control, sure. Right? But the bitterness and resentment, if you are learning to live with bitterness and resentment, where you can't do anything about it, then that's not a right thing. That's where scriptural knowledge comes in handy, where you start seeing things in perspective and learn to tackle them with a perspective that is not harming or devolving for you. Right? Choice of happiness is always with us. People in concentration camp, Viktor Frankl, if you hear his story, or people who have lived in prisons for years and years together, they said there is one choice that we had and nobody could snatch it away from us. That was the choice of happiness. Nobody can snatch it away from you unless you give your keys to them and say, okay, take away my happiness because of your behavior. That is where spirituality helps. But if we don't understand those higher principles, we have not practiced those higher principles, we have not contemplated on those hard enough, deep enough, then it becomes troublesome for us, where every other issue will start taking our mind space, and we'll say, what do we want to do? We'll have bitterness, resentment, and we'll struggle. And it's a mixed bag for everybody. Okay, somebody might be a chosen one, but then typically life is a mixed bag for pretty much everybody.
I
Same.
don't usually harbor like the feelings for long. Like it's just momentary, and then I realize that I'm getting angry, and then I let it go. I don't harbor it, but I just don't want to feel it at that moment. That
There is a saying
what you feel at that moment. I don't want to feel that.
There is a saying in our scriptures, problems will come anyway. So they say, Murak, no, Gyani bhukte jnanate, Murak bhukte roe. That means a wise person will tackle problems with wisdom. And a person who's dim intellect will tackle that problem with the, with crying, complaining, and all that stuff. So scriptures tell us that's where you need to utilize the tools that our scriptures are giving us, and not keep on repeating the same thing in your head, because you are losing out on if you don't tackle or have a game plan around it. We'll come back to that. Anyway, let's cover a few more things. So Bhagavad Gita and scriptural understanding, knowledge definitely comes in. That is where it comes in play, because it helps us tackle the bigger questions of our life. Now let's do a quick exercise, mental exercise here. If you look at it, timeline of your life, on one hand we have failure and dejection, and on the other hand we have success and elation, okay, on this graph. And you may want to do that quietly at the comfort of your home, not necessarily, but you can make a mental map of maybe 2 or 3 top things that you can remember. It gave me a very high kick when I achieved so and so thing, or this thing happened to me in my life. Okay, those few things will definitely come to your mind. So those are that everybody's life has the timeline. Those 4 or 5 spots will be there, inflection points, where they feel really euphoric and elated about something that they achieved in life. And then there are points where they have felt dejected, down, dejected, or might have experienced some failures or hardships in their life as well. Both points you can actually draw down and plot down for your life, basically. And these inflection points for Arjuna, where he's at the peak of his despair and experiencing a great struggle in his mind, this is also an inflection point for him. He's like completely in an abyss, nothing basically at that point. He's just praying to Krishna to give him guidance around that, because he's in complete despair. The kind of symptoms he's showing is he is totally dejected and losing hope. Now, in similar way, if we can think about our despair and hardship, and then on the other hand, which out of these incidents you think have contributed more towards defining or shaping your personality on who you are today? If somebody wants to share that quickly, please go ahead and do that if you feel like sharing it. But this is a very important exercise that we can do and really reflect on. Is it the hardships, the failures, or the tough times which define who we are today, or those successes which has given us more learnings, or which has had more depth, which has shaped our life? Yes, anybody wanted to share that? You have to unmute.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Padmaji.
Yes, Padmaji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I'm answering this question, or Shruti just, I had like few things that, so let me just look at this question. Despair. Okay. When we are, let me just try to put some thoughts together. Whenever we define happiness, right, our mind is projected towards the material happiness, whether it's relationships, situations, circumstances, a success in life, financial success, financial gains, any material thing. So our mind has impressions of this happiness that we are seeking, unless you're challenged with circumstances that you have not. When I say you, that means you have mind have not expected or predicted or projected, like this is how something is supposed to be, this is how the relationship should be, this is how the situation should be. That is already the drama and the cinema is happening in our mind, where we go back in history, and then we project our mind into the future, and there is this projected perception of the persona of the movie that this is how it's supposed to be played. So from there, you're not going to grow spiritually. whenever you're tackled with something which is so unexpected of the situation, so unexpected or the predicted of what you have not predicted, then you will be put in a situation where you have to dig deeper into yourself, and whatever the energy and the strength or the courage or God's blessing that you have around you that you have never paid attention to, you'll be forced into those situations, and that is your best opportunity to open your eyes and thank God and say that situation has come to you, and look from the vision of that spiritual lens and see, what is that I need to learn from this? God really want me to learn from the situation, and your inner strength will come across.
Great. They say, right, in English, there's a saying, you dig deep when you, you run out of resources, right? So that's God's ways of letting us become more resilient. That's when we start really digging deep into our reservoirs that we were not aware of, right? That fourth quadrant that we spoke about, it starts kicking in at that point. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add? Great point, Padmaji. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just based upon my experience so far, little experience, I feel that I've always had success followed by a failure. So if failure wasn't there, the success wouldn't have been there. I mean, that taught me to realize the importance of success and put all the hard work and efforts towards it. So I think it's very, very important for us to succeed.
Good point. Very true. Yeah. We'll have a mixed bag around it. But from a personality standpoint, when the failure comes, when the dejection comes, when you start losing hope, is there something that you gain out of that experience? Do you come out bit better, or you feel, does it teach anything at all from that standpoint, the failure? Right? Swamiji uses this term very nicely. I love that there is either success or learning. There's nothing like failure, actually, if you really think about it. It's either success or learning. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Manishi.
Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so for me, the life struggles have been my best success. It's like God's grace for me, because it's made me into who I am today. In fact, that's the presentation I was going to do. So when we get that time, I'll go into my life struggles. But it is the struggles that I've gone through that have led me to further more devotion and appreciation of God and God's grace and all that stuff. And there's a saying that, direct suffering is sometimes given by God for spiritual progress. And that has been the case in my life. So true.
Very true.
So thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Manishi. We look forward to your presentation. You can plan it sometime next week. Right? They say that the rough seas make skillful sailors. If seas are never rough, then we will not become skillful at all. And this inflection point in Arjuna actually led to this beautiful Gita Upanishad to come out of God's mouth, right? That is the despair actually which resulted in that. It's the hardship of Lord Rama that he endured for those 14 years that made up for all the learnings that we had. If the story was that Ram Bhagwan came, he became the king, he ruled, and then he went off, we would have not learned so many things from his Leela. That the hardship period of exile is where all the beautiful nuggets came out from a Ramayana standpoint as well. Great point. Yes, Sumeshi, please go ahead. Then we move forward.
राधे राधे जी।
राधे राधे।
एक प्रश्न है कि जैसे श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन और कौरव पार्टी को मरवाने के लिए झूठ बोलवाया अर्जुन से, और अर्जुन को बचाने के लिए झूठ बोलवाया, तो क्या अन्य लोगों को भी इसका अनुकरण करना चाहिए?
Okay, that's a good question. So just for the benefit of people in English, that in order to save Arjun, Lord Krishna made, he spoke a lie. So is it something which one needs to emulate, right? He made people speak a lie. And then what, दूसरा आपने क्या बोला सुमेश जी? एक झूठ तो ये है to save Arjun, and then what was the first lie?
पहला झूठ कि वो मरवाने के लिए कौरव पार्टी को, और दूसरा झूठ अर्जुन को बचाने के लिए, गुड पर्सन को बचाने के लिए.
So in order to kill Kauravas, he took the side of a lie, and then in order to save Arjun, he did the same. So the question is, should we? So that is again, you're going back to Someshi's same question that we did. So we'll get to that. I have kept that because we did not have a deeper discussion on that topic yesterday. So we'll revisit it. So now one more thing, wanted to do that. I'm going to paste this link as well on our portal is we will pick up a theme for a month. Ramya ji came up with this idea. I loved it. Badlav or change. How can we put it to practice? So for the theme that we can practice for the coming month, and there's a link, I will post it as well on our portal. I've already created a thread for that. We can start practicing replacing fear with faith and acceptance. And if we can share our day-to-day experiences, how we are actually consciously, mindfully trying to do that in our day-to-day lives, I think it will be very inspiring, because we are learning concepts, but it's important to utilize it. We have a laboratory, a ready-made laboratory in form of our day-to-day life, where we can experiment and see how these principles help us. And the beauty of applying these principles is that it comes like a pack of noodles. You apply one thing and you will have to, some of the other principles will start getting aligned around it as well. If you do faith, if you put faith and have acceptance, you have already started, aligning to principle 1 and 2 of surrender as well. So a lot of other things will automatically start feeding in to this process as well. So for this month, we will go with that, because Arjuna is fearful and Lord Krishna is going to systematically desensitize his fear. And that's what we can all practice and share our experiences around it as well. Okay. Now getting back to, I'll share this link with you when we do the feedback tracker stuff as well. Now, yesterday we had this question, right? Killing of Karna, Drona, Bhishma. So, when Karan, his chariot got stuck, then Krishna says, Arjun, shoot him. And Karan, he was born out of ear. Right? Kunti had those boons from Devatas. So he had very strong ears. And the moment Krishna said that, he heard it. He overheard it. And he said, like Someshji, that, what kind of a God, people would think of you. You are telling to basically go against the rules of engagement. That Kshatriya, you cannot engage him or shoot at him when he's not armed or when he has his back towards you. And being a God, you are the gatekeeper of dharma. You created dharma, and you are telling that to Arjun to kill me at this time. So then Krishna asked him, what kind of dharma are you talking about, Karan? Right? When Draupadi was being humiliated, you still sided with Duryodhan. You chose friendship over dharma at that point. And he gave him a lot of other examples around that as well. When Abhimanyu was being slayed, he forgot dharma. So the point here is, dharma is a very loaded term. In our case, of course, if a saint or a god comes and tells us something to do, then the game changes completely. But for a regular person, siding or taking, the side of or erring towards a lie is not recommended by our scriptures. But if God is saying that, then you just have to go with that, because he knows the better dharma than anybody else. Even Yudhishthir, for that matter, it is said that his chariot, because of his piety, it would always be a few inches above the ground. It will not touch the ground. But when Krishna told him to say Ashwatthama is killed, he said that, and under his breath he muttered that it is the elephant, not the guy, right? So basically, he was so attached to his own dharma, that was the first time his chariot touched the ground. Okay, so it's like there is no bigger dharma than following God or complete surrender to him. In 18.66, which is the executive statement of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is saying, Sarv dharmam parityajye mamekam sharanam braj. That means, forget all the dharmas, you simply surrender into me. He's the one who has created dharma. Nobody understands dharma better than him. He understands what is a honi. He understands in what context what needs to happen. So superficially, if you look at it, what he's saying, and we start applying our, small intellect around it, then we will learn. So for people like us, Sumeshji, to answer your question, the recommended thing is not to lie. But yes, if God comes in front of you and for some reason you understand he's God, right? We first of all will not be able to understand God if he comes in front of us, because it is quite possible we have seen God multiple times, but we don't have that vision or understanding to know him. But if a saint or God tells you, then there is no higher dharma than that. Bhishma Pitama was also attached to his dharma. Karna was also attached to his dharma. Yudhishthir was also attached to his dharma. But God says there is no higher dharma than following his instruction or complete surrender to him. So from that sense, we don't copy God. We just learn from his leelas. It's also one of his things, right, that he's doing. So first of all, we need to be like Krishna to say that we should follow his path. If we don't have the ability to lift Govardhan Hill, we cannot selectively pick up stuff that Krishna did. There's no higher dharma. Nothing bad when you are following the instructions of God, because that is the highest dharma. It's not something that we can define on our own based on our limited understanding, our intellectual capacity around it. Yes, Kumarji, we had a question as well.
No, Radhe, I think I was going to answer what Sudesh or Sumesh ji was going to say, and you almost said everything which I was going to say as well. So only thing which I was going to say was, why are we trying to compare ourselves with Krishna? Krishna is Dharma, and we are not in any way or any sense, near him, right? So as Nitinji said, we cannot try to enact things like him, but we just have to follow his beautiful words, which are there in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's my thoughts, not to lie. But you know what? Sometimes, let's say, for example, I'll give a quick example. Someone was telling me something about a person, not, like some of the things. And then I had to call the other person because I was trying to help that person out, like I know that person was going through some trouble. And when I told them, they said, hey, did this person tell this to you? And I could not say the truth. And here I was trying to safeguard this identity of the other person and then not get this person hurt as well. So we do certain things. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, are you at peace with what you did? Are you happy? Or do you feel good? That will give you the answer. Thank you, Radhe.
Beautiful. Very nice. That's true. So there's no higher dharma than following the instruction of God. Okay. All the examples that you look at, yes, of course he did that, but then these people, they erred on that side. It said, right, there's a code of conduct or what you call that, in an implicit expectation, even amongst thieves and goons, not to steal from each other. So who's talking about dharma here? Even Duryodhan was killed, right? The rules of engagement say that you are not supposed to hit below your waist in that youth, but then Krishna said, go ahead and do that. And then the same way Bhishma, how was he done? Because Shikhandini he kept in front of him because he wouldn't have lifted a weapon against a woman. And that also happened. Drona was killed like that. Karna was killed like that. But there's no higher dharma than what God decides to do. Okay, we spoke about three things. There is one thing called prarabdha, right, which we are born with. There is something called honi as well. And honi is something which is desire of God. And when God desires something, that war would have happened, was meant to happen. That destruction was needed at that time, just so that Nav Nirman or new things could surface after that. It was so messed up at that point, right? When your, what do you call that, the Draupadi, somebody like Draupadi could have been humiliated like this. You can only imagine the fate of ordinary women during those times, right? It was really bad, and that's why it was needed. And there is no higher dharma than aligning to the will of God. Now, if God comes in front of you and asks you to do a pap also, which you think is pap, there should not be any second thoughts at all, provided we know it's God, right? First, we need to reach there. So, right, wrong, good, bad is fine. From a scripture standpoint, we can try to align to that. But when it comes to God, what he says to do, there's absolutely nothing at that point. Like I gave an example, traffic policeman is telling you to go ahead and you say, no, my dharma says light is red, so I will not go. He's only created that rule. So he's telling you, the rule maker is telling you to go ahead and do that. And then you cannot say my intellect, 2 finger worth of intellect, width work of intellect has better understanding what is a higher dharma around it. Sarv dharmam parityajya, right? That is the executive statement of Bhagavad Gita towards the end. And then God says, when you surrender unto me, that's when I'll burn off all your past karmas. That is his mercy. Otherwise, we are on a suicidal mission anyways, right? To keep on adding more and more karmas, like that guy, right? Going after things which bind us further and further. So that is the big thing. And that's where, like, I like this part, right? Swamiji says that from birth to death, we'll continue to have problems in life, right? So it's not just a continuum of problem and solution, but the choices that you make will define the success of your life. And that choice is always there. Do you want to lead it without aligning to the higher principles, without having that spark or that inquisition that what is the purpose of my life? How do I deal with these problems that my mind gives me every other day? Do I want to do something about it, or do I want to same input, same output kind of a scenario? So problem solution continuum is not what life is all about. It's just about embracing that comes your way with a spirit of faith and acceptance. And that is why we have created a theme for this month that we can build on. Samji has volunteered and Ramyaji has also volunteered to run that thread. So yeah, I just wanted to see that reaction. That's fine. So we can do that and share our experiences. I think it's important to put it to practice as well, what we are learning, and see how we can actually start benefiting from that in our day-to-day life as well. All right. Yes, Shrirame, you wanted to talk. I would like to give you a few minutes to talk about it, how we can put it to practice and benefit from these threads, and defining that theme that we can practice as a group for a given month.
Yes, I had a quick presentation to share as well.
Sure, I'll stop share. Go ahead, please.
Let me see if I have the rights to present.
Yeah, you are the co-host. You have the rights.
You have the rights as a co-host. And in the meantime, Rahul, you had something?
Yes, I just wanted to announce about the retreat, which will be happening on this weekend. And whoever is in India or outside Dallas can easily join the retreat online from the comfort of their home. And apart from that, on Sunday, Radha Ashtami festival is also there, which will be telecasted live on the radhakrishnatemple.net live website. I have posted both the links in the chat. So even if you don't decide to join the retreat, you can still join the Radha Ashtami festival.
Yes, it's going to be exciting for sure. And do sign up if you have not already. It's going to be really awesome. Don't miss out on 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita and all the fun activities that we'll do as well. Mabin has raised his hand as well. Yes, Mabin.
Hi, Radhe Radhe, everyone. So my question is regarding the last topic we were discussing, that whenever Lord Krishna says something to do, then we should not question or put our intellect into it. But in our like day-to-day life, if we do not analyze, when we are studying or hearing Bhagavad Gita, if we do not analyze or why Krishna said this, or how it relates to our life, then how can we apply in our life? Because there won't be Krishna behind us instructing us like Arjuna, right?
True. No, it's a very fair question. Yes. So we need to obviously apply our intellect in things, right? And that is where the role of Guru comes into picture. Guru is the one who can resolve your doubts to your satisfaction. But if we simply continue doing our intellectual gymnastics around this without faith, then it will be a little wishy-washy. Someday you will feel, yeah, this makes sense, and other days you will feel, no, it just doesn't make sense. And that is why the role of Guru is very important, because he can reconcile all the apparent contradictions and even the deeper things around, some of the things that happen. And in due course of time, it starts growing on you, where you just simply understand. You start aligning. So if something doesn't make sense, like Swamiji beautifully explains, it's a journey from understanding to understanding rather than from doubt to doubt. So whatever little we have understood, let's start applying that. And when we complete that, the next, it's just like if you have to walk 2 miles in the dark, pitch dark, and you have a lantern through which you can see only 10 feet ahead. So you take that lantern, do those 10 feet, then after you reach there, another 10 feet, another 10 feet, and that's how you complete the journey. So with Guru, with faith, and with your sincerity, these deeper secrets will start growing on you, and it will all start falling in place. But yes, to your point, you have to put your intellect, but that should be with faith and and trying to understand, as opposed to becoming skeptical to begin with. And then it'll start growing on you, because you're not the first one, nor you are the last one who will have doubts and certain things which are not clicking. But in due course of time, they will all settle down, and I can vouch for that through my own experience. I hope that answered your question, Mabin, at least a little bit.
Please.
All right, yeah, and wish you the very best on this journey, and please glad.
Oh, hello. Yeah. Can I add real quick?
Sure.
So when we study Bhagavad Gita like this with you and everybody, so should we try to understand the reasoning behind why Krishna said such things to Arjuna, like why he asked him to do, even though it does not make sense? Should we think in that approach, or like just accept because it came out of God's mouth, that must be true, and that's why Arjuna had to follow or something?
You will get answers to that. Now, if you want to have, I can have a discussion with you offline on that. You can get answers for that. There are deeper things around that as well, right? If you look back to Karna's previous life, who was he? For how long he was supposed to be here? The Bhishmas, the thing. So you get answers. It all start falling in place. But I think the simple thing is, whatever makes sense for now, we go with that. And then if you are getting stuck, it is an impediment to your devotion, then Swamiji is always there to resolve our doubts. So doubts will get cleared over. A few things will have to take on the face value, few things will get cleared, and then we have the benefit of Swamiji as well, if those doubts are not getting cleared over these sessions. But if we get hung up just because Krishna told Duryodhan to be killed like that, now we get stuck there, that's probably not going to help us, right? Krishna has told tons of other things as well. When we proceed, you will see how Krishna has explained how human psychology works, what we need to do on a day-to-day basis, how to deal with equanimity, when we do that, what happens. So let's focus on things which are immediately appealing to our intellect and suspend things which may not be making sense at this point. That might be one approach that we can take. The important thing is to keep progressing as opposed to getting stuck.
I think we can go ahead with Mayaji's presentation.
Sure, Ramya, please go ahead. Ramya, are you there?
Yes. Sorry, I was talking on mute.
Sure.
Radhe, everyone. So I've named this as this presentation as knowledge sharing. So what inspired me was I have been attending a 5 a.m. challenge, which is based on Robin Sharma's teachings at waking up early in the morning. And I learned a few things in these sessions, which I wanted to share with all of you. So that's the intention of this. So I'll begin with a story. I think many of you are familiar with it, but for those who are not, this is one of the stories of the Akbar Birbal series. So what happens is one day, a sculptor, a very famous sculptor in the town, he comes to Akbar and he places 3 statues before Akbar. And so they were not the statues what you're seeing on the presentation here. They were sculpted very well. They were very beautiful statues and they looked similar. So the sculptor, he challenges Akbar and he tells them, you need to find the differences between these 3. So Akbar looks at the 3 statues, he monitors all of them and he says they're exactly the same. And the sculptor says, no, there is a difference and you have to find it. So now Akbar, what he does is he calls his council and he asks all his ministers, you have to find the differences between these 3 statues. So everybody would come, they would look at the statue, they would go all around it and they would not find even a minor difference. And they would say, these are exactly the same. And now comes our hero, our famous Birbal. And now Birbal comes, he goes around the statues, he looks at them, and he tells Akbar, I would need 3 straws. So Akbar says, okay, let's give it to him. So they gave Birbal 3 straws. So what he does is he puts a straw in the year of the first statue. And what he sees is the straw comes out of the other ear. And he takes another straw, he goes to the second statue and he puts it in the ear. And now what happens with this statue is the straw, it comes out of the mouth. And now he goes to the third statue. He takes the straw again and he puts it in the ear. And he sees that the straw disappeared. It doesn't come out. And as the sculptor, he would have told previously, you have to find the difference. One of the statue out of the three is precious. It is priceless. And now Akbar says, this is the priceless one. So Akbar, he gets lost and he gets a bit confused and he asks the sculptor, what is it? What are you trying to say? And just like all of us, he asks, so what's in it for me? Here is what Birbal says, and he reflects what the sculptor intended while making the statues. So the first statue, when you put a straw in one ear and it just comes out of the other ear, so it depicts those people who just hear it. They are just hearing the stories, and what we say in Hindi, एक कान से सुनते हैं और दूसरे कान से छोड़ देते हैं. So it depicts those people. They just hear and they just let go. And coming to the next set of people, so we see people who talk so much, like we listen to the news and we tell that, hey, this is happening, that is happening. So we just hear it and we talk about it. So the straw, it comes to the ear and it comes out of the mouth. They don't just actually implement it or anything, but they just hear it and they go on talking about it. And the third statue, where the straw disappeared, so it represents these set of people. They listen, they assimilate it, and they live by it. And by living by it, they set an example for others. And he said this third statue, this is the priceless one. And Akbar is astounded by the thoughts the sculptor had while making the statues and by Birbal's understanding of it. And these are the three sets of people we see in general. And this is what I learned in my sessions, that the only purpose of knowledge is transformation. And whatever we hear, and either we have to transform, and still better, we bring the transformation in others. And if you're not bringing any kind of transformation, then it's just an intellectual simulation, like whatever we are hearing. It is like, like an intellectual maza le rahe. It would become something like that if we don't start applying what we are learning. So we can say that the knowledge is impacting us when we start seeing the transformation in us, and when we start seeing the transformation in people around us. So how does this transformation happen, or how does this knowledge get into us? Is there are two things. One is we assimilate, and the other one is churning. The assimilate part is what we have spoken already. We need to absorb it. It's not just we just hear it and let go of it and just talk about it and forget it. But we need to imbibe it. We have to live by it. And churning is, we have to, bring out those qualities in us. And we have to, let others see the changes in us and get those changes to others also. So the knowledge what we have, it gets more deep into us only when we start sharing it with others, when the churning happens from within, when we start sharing it with others. So when I heard this, I was like, the first thing I did was I texted Nitinji and I was like, why not do this for our sessions as well? And as we discussed, we would not be able to do it without your support. So we need your support to bring this transformation in us. And I know I see a lot of changes already in many people from the time since I've joined the classes and now, and I wonder how these people have changed so much. And we specifically need your support, wherein you could share and you could bring us the changes. So as a simple step, so in our sessions of 5 a.m., what we had is we had Aaj Ka Badlav every day at the end of our session, wherein a small nugget, a practical nugget would be shared. So one of them was like, you express gratitude to your food before you eat today. And so there would be one practical tip which would be easy for us to implement, and we would do that change. And theory is remains only a theory unless we practice it. So the practicing it, we used to have a nugget, we used to have a Aaj Ka Badlav every day, wherein we got to practice those things. And these were the little practices which got us to wake up at 5 a.m. without any alarm or something. So I was like, yeah, we have to do this with our Gita classes as well. And as I just picked it now from Nitinji's slide, you replace fear with faith, and we could have the Badlav of the week or Badlav of the month, and Nitinji, as always, would guide us. And we would need all of your support in the community portal, and wherein you could share how you have implemented these changes. And unless we implement it, it just remains a theory unless we put it into practice. So we would need more nuggets from all of you, including me, wherein whatever the shloka of the day is or whatever the theme of the month is, we live by it, and we share those instances, and we see how best we have imbibed in ourselves, and how best we can help others in this journey. So this is a small thing that I wanted to share and request all of you. So that's it. Thank you. Radhe Radhe presents my presentation.
Thank you, Sri Ramya. Beautiful story. Really drove home the point that you were trying to say. And I think what we can do as a group is, of course, we can look at and start applying some of these principles consciously. Fear is something we all have. And I can share my examples from time to time. We could do it over the thread where we can build that knowledge base kind of a thing, right? That's one way to do that. Maybe Sri Ramya, you can take a lead on that, and Samji, if you want to assist on that. And then everybody can contribute towards that thread. I posted that. And then maybe during the month, we can come up, you can always put it in a feedback tracker and share, if you think there's a story worth sharing, where you could apply this concept and saw some of the results, or felt that peace and joy that automatically comes when you start applying these principles, it will inspire others as well. So we should do that. Aaj Ka Badlav, or the change that we want to bring in, we could make it a monthly theme and then repeat. There are so many things that we can practice on a day-to-day basis. And over time, you would realize that when you are working on one thing, you're already feeding, making a good foundation for other things as well. That is how it works. So thank you, Sri Ramya. Beautiful. I loved it. And I'm sure a lot of participants did it as well. And a lot of people will come forward and share their stories around it. So let's start diluting fear with faith and acceptance. Okay. The first symptom that you would see is your anxiety will start evaporating. So if that starts happening, nothing like it. It's a big change you would have already taken. And the good thing is that if you do that, it becomes our perpetual asset across lifetimes. And it is a freedom we are getting. Who likes to get bonded, right? Everybody enjoys freedom, and it's a freedom from our own mind that we will start working towards. So let's inspire each other. There are multiple ways we can do that. And thank you, Sri Ramya, for providing this great idea that we all can benefit from. And I'll try to remind that from time to time, and we can keep picking up themes for every month. You can put it in feedback tracker, and I'm open for any other suggestions you may have. Good thing is we have Bhagavad Gita. Life is our laboratory. We can experiment around with things and help inspire each other. That will be the icing on the cake on anything, something so special we are already doing. Right? So we are doing the knowledge. Now we can start churning it, implementing it, and inspiring others as well. And within a span of few months, we'll see, we have come a long way when we start truly mindfully implementing it as well, and taking it beyond just that spiritual maza or entertainment itself. So that'll be nice. Great. Anybody wanted to say anything on this initiative?
I think Padmaji has her hand raised, but not sure what she wants.
It's Padmaji.
I had my hand raised for Shrutiji's question, but I will say a few words for Ramyaji. Like, awesome, right? So many thoughts were going in my head. I can't, I don't know if there's anything specific that I would like to share, but when you share your personal stories rather than resharing the same knowledge, right? When you share your personal stories, people connect to it. And why do they connect to it? Because our mind, just like somebody else was asking earlier, right? The reason why we are here is because we are not Arjunas. The reason why we are here is obviously not Krishna. The reason why we are here is because we don't have access to Krishna every single moment, but we do. And this is what I wanted to say about Shrutiji's question, right? And I just wrote like two things, and it will kind of bring back what Ramyaji was, the initiative, and also the question that Shrutiji was asking about. The light in our heart is the faith. Any relationship, any situation, any knowledge for that matter, even materialistic knowledge, is to bring us to that state of connection with the God. Even success, anything. And if you actually accept it, and if you truly accept that anything, whether it's material success, situations, circumstances, anything, when you truly accept it with your mind, that anything which is coming your way, because eventually the ultimate goal is to develop that love for God and Guru. And if you keep that in your mind, the path will show. You don't know the path right now, but the path will show. And for everybody else, that path might be different, and you should be okay embracing that path which is different than somebody else. But as long as you are developing that path and recognizing that path from a faith of love for God and Guru, and you have the devotion for the God, and that gives you the freedom and liberation of what should be left out, which situation should be left out, which attachments you can detach from, and how to react to that situations rather than responding to that situation, whether it's a person, spouse, kid, anything which comes your way. And these things will come your way. When I say the path will show, like your inner self will tell you whether to react or to respond. Your inner self will tell you what to be left out. You do, everything doesn't have to be a priority. You will reprioritize yourself, that things which will make sense to you, where you can develop that love for God and Guru. And you don't talk a lot about yourself, or in your mind, I mean, you try to apply that, and very silently you apply that. And the last thing that I wanted to say is, for that you have to visit yourself every single day. Whatever the means and ways that you can connect with yourself, where you're making that personal connection with God and Guru, do that. However you can connect with God and Guru every minute, whatever the reminders, make that connection constantly. Sometimes if you drop out of the call, there are ways that you can actually get back into the call and then make those connections. And what you're seeking truly is not outside. What you're truly seeking is actually inside. And when you silence your mind and then take yourself back, you will connect to your heart, and then you start listening to the voice, because it is coming out of bhakti. It is coming out of pure love for God. It is coming out of pure bhakti for God and Guru. Doesn't matter whether you are there or not. And you claim it. You claim the devotion with God. You claim the devotion for Guru. And you would feel that love, kindness, empathy, humility, humbleness, the way not your mind is understanding, the way that your heart is supposed to experience.
Great, profound thoughts, Padmaji. I think they're backed with a lot of experience and realizations, and I'm sure a lot of participants can benefit and get inspired from it as well. So thank you so much for that. Yes, Sandhya, you wanted to add something as well?
This was just to appreciate and congratulate Sri Ramyaji for this wonderful initiative. And I mean, I think all of us should actively engage in the community portal, because in the beginning, even I wasn't engaging. But when I started, I realized how resourceful it is. And as we are all a family, it will be amazing if we all can, help each other in our journey. And it's just one point that I wanted to mention, that, there's little experiences that we have in our life which we don't think are important, but it could be something very, very important for someone else in terms of the struggles they are facing at this stage. So it will be wonderful if we can just share that and inspire each other. And having this knowledge base is also an amazing idea. Like, at any point of time, anyone can go back, check, and get inspired. So wonderful initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Ramya. Yeah. I just wanted to share one thing about my own fear Okay, one of my fears, especially while studying and stuff, was that the public speaking part of it. Okay, that going there and making a fool out of yourself, and that fear would basically, even though you are okay, you are prepared, but this fear of making a fool out of yourself in a public gathering always used to play back on my mind, until somehow with grace, God's grace and Guru's grace, I decided to be comfortable with it. It's okay. You get humiliated, you get laughed at by people, just be comfortable with that. So what? It's not the end of the world. And then actually that really helped me in the sense, now even if when I end up making a fool out of myself, it still happens. I'm comfortable with that. Nothing happens within me. You just become comfortable with that. It's like, what's a big deal? It's okay. That ability to laugh at yourself has really over time freed me up from that fear. So when I think back, with the teachings from Swamiji and Bhagavad Gita, what is it? He says that just embrace it, accept the worst and make peace with it. So when you accept the worst and make the peace with it, everything else is a bonus. And it has happened in a lot of my office meetings as well. When you have a lot of executives there whose every minute is precious, and I have wasted their 10 minutes just because of some technical glitches and things that I have not sorted out. But the fact that you are at peace and you were able to revive was only because you are comfortable. It's okay. It can happen. You embrace it and not make a big deal out of it in your head. It's like not the end of the world. Okay, I'm not fighting a war here. Mistake happened, so be it. People will say 5 things, that's fine. So that embracement and acceptance part of it actually helps. And I try to extrapolate that principle to other walks of life as well. When I was studying, I didn't have a visa. Whenever I would go out on a travel, I wasn't even sure I will be able to come back or not to US. Everything would have gotten upside down. But you said you just take a leap of faith. It's like, that's okay. Whatever happens, happens. You do your best. And that actually relieves the burden of your mind. So if you can, the good thing is if you apply it to one walk of life, you can easily take that and start applying it to the walks of life because you have experienced something good there. So this is something which works for me. I won't say that I've conquered fear, but at least I try to apply that principle as best as I can, because I know in one walk of things which really used to play on my mind, it really helped. Simply accepting and embracing the worst outcome that is possible and making peace with it. All right, just wanted to share that. Anybody else who wanted to share, or we want to do a couple of chants and then wrap up our session? We had a little bit of time, so we can make the use of it. Yeah, Shruti, you had a question?
No, actually, I was going to say what you just told about, your story or whatever your incidents. Really, personal things actually do touch, the heart. It is great that you shared it. Thank you. And I had a similar thing, like when I was in college, I actually was staying with my Masi. So she was from a Hindi medium school. She doesn't know English or anything. So how we think that English brings confidence and all that. So when I went there, I was not very confident in talking to other people and very introvert sort of. So when I went there and I saw her, she was from a Hindi medium school, never knew English, and she was like that force to reckon with. She would be so confident and just go and talk to anyone. Like, I think if Prime Minister would come, she wouldn't hesitate a second to just think that I have to what would I say, how would I speak to him. So I asked her, how do you do that? And she said, what would you do, bite me? Just be confident. It's okay if you make a mistake, you learn from it and then you grow from it, and just next time you don't make that mistake. So I learned a lot from that thing, and I think that boosted my confidence so much. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, beautiful story. That's true. More often than not, it's our own demons in our mind that we create, which may or may not have any touch with reality at all. So that's where I think we need to get better. And that's what Bhagavad Gita tells us as well. Be acceptance, have faith, and don't create unnecessary cobwebs in your mind, because you'll have to clean those up anyways later on. Wonderful. So are we ready, Fir? Payalji is there. Anybody wants to do a bit of a chant today to wrap up our session and have a good weekend then? It's a retreat weekend. I look forward to seeing you online or in person. And then next week, we are going to do a little bit of Radhashtami as well. So feedback tracker, fill it up, what you're going to present, if you're going to present, and we'll do a little bit of a celebration like we did for Krishna Janmashtami as well. Yes. Sandhya, you wanted to add something?
Bhajan. I can go at the end if there is time.
Please go ahead.
Right now, no, others can probably do it first.
Okay, Manishi, you wanted to go? Or Shruti wanted to sing as well?
Sure, I can. You can, Shruti ji can go ahead if she wants, that's fine.
Yeah, Shruti, go ahead. You wanted to sing?
No. Just a comment. No, I don't know.
Your hand is raised, so we thought you did it for chanting today. Okay, Manishi, please go ahead.
Great voice, but I'll give it a shot. This bhajan that I heard, I like really. So I'll give it a shot. Jai Shri Vrishabhanu Dulare ki Jai Alabeli Sarkar ki Jai Shri Vrishabhanu Dulare ki Jai Alabeli Sarkar ki Jai Swami Nanda Kumar ki Jai Adha Dhund Darbar ki Jaya Swami Nanda Kumar ki Jaya Adha Dhund Darbar ki Jaya Ati Bori Sukumar ki Jaya Karuna ki Bhandar ki Jaya Ati Bori Sukumar ki Jai Karuna ki Bandar ki Jai Mahabhav Sakar ki Jai Niradhara Adhar ki Jai Mahabhav Sakar ki Jai Niradhara Adhar ki Jai Shri Vrishabhanu Dular ki Jai Shri Vrishabhanu Dular ki Jai Alabeli Sarkar ki. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Thank you, Manishi. It's a good segue to Radhashtami. We're going to celebrate that. So beautiful bhajan. Thank you for that. All right. Padmaji, you wanted to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. This is just not a song, but I just put like few slokas together because it's Ganesh. Shuklambaradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashante Agajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmaye Ekadantam Upasmaye Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gajananam Bhuta Ganite Setam Kapirdam Jambu Falasarabhaksham Umasutam Shoka Vinasakaram Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Vigneshwaraya Varadaya Surapriyaya Lambodaraya Nagananaya Shrutiyagnaya गौरी सुताय घननादा गौरी सुताय घननादा गौरी सुताय घननादा नमो नमो नमस्ते नमो नमो नमस्ते नमो नमो नमस्ते गौरी सुताय गजनाय. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Beautiful recitation, Padma ji, for Ganesha, Lord Ganesha. Thank you very much. Who wants to go next then? Sandhya. Rahul, go there as well, and then Payal ji, we can do the line towards the end. Yeah, Rahul, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to recite one shlok of Bhakti Shatak, the first shlok, because we are going to Radhashtami, so I think that is the best one. अद्वितीय एक तत्व है, राधा तत्व प्रधान, याको दूजो रूप है, स्वयं कृष्ण भगवान. राधे राधे.
Beautiful, very nice. Great, loved it. Yes, Sandhya, go ahead, please.
Okay, quickly 4 lines on Guru. Okay. Guru charan kamal balihar, Guru par tan man dhanvar, Guru charan dhuri sirdhar, Guru mahima parampar, Guru charan kamal balihar.
Very nice, beautiful, Sandhya. Thank you for the Guru Bhajan. All right, so we preserve the best for the last. So somebody made, was it Samji who's making that?
That is Payalji, I don't know, maybe.
Okay, so Payalji figures out her audio. Yeah, Payalji, yeah, your audio. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I was unable to unmute myself. Yeah, Radhe Radhe. So I'll again, yeah, my throat is really bad and I'm not feeling well. I'm having viral for past 3-4 days. So that's why I could not actively attend the session.
Some knock is coming, right? Are you hearing that?
Is it? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but then some knock is also coming along with your audio. I don't know.
Is it? How about now? It's still there?
Yeah, it's coming from your audio. I don't know what's going on. It's like tuck, tuck, tuck is coming. Somebody's knocking hard.
Is it fine now?
Now it's fine, yes. Now it's fine.
Now it is okay.
Okay. Perfect. Just a second.
I thought Samji was running the drum roll to welcome you, but yeah, now it's good.
Okay. So yeah. Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudevai. Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari, He Nath Narayan Vasudevai. एकमात स्वामी सखा हमारे, एकमात स्वामी सखा हमारे, नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी, नाथ नारायण वासुदेवाय. त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धु सखा त्वमेव, त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्व मम देव देव. Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva. Radhe Radhe.
Beautiful, very nice. You can sing unplugged. You don't need beats actually, so which is even more amazing. So very nice. Thank you so much, and hope you feel better. With viral, you can sing like that. Without, we can only imagine. All right, great. So with that, we come to the end of today's session. I look forward to seeing you at the retreat in person or virtual. And then next week, we're going to have some good sessions around Radha Ashtami as well. So please do fill out the feedback tracker, mark that. That way we know what all presentations are lined up and we can plan our sessions accordingly. So have a wonderful rest of your day and the weekend, and stay blessed, and Radhe Radhe. Anything else anybody had?
Thank you, Nitinji, and see everyone tomorrow at the retreat, online and offline. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you at the retreat. Radhe Radhe. Good night, good day.